Did you know our brain is not designed to focus for hours non-stop? That's why you often feel exhausted, procrastinate, and never finish tasks on time. But there's a tiny secret. With just a timer and 25 minutes, you can completely change the way you work. This is the secret of the Pomodoro Technique, the method that has helped millions of people around the world achieve peak productivity. The Pomodoro Technique is one of those deceptively simple ideas that hides a powerful secret within it. At its core, the method breaks work into small intervals, traditionally 25 minutes long, called Pomodoros, separated by short 5-minute breaks and a longer break after every 4 sessions. The word Pomodoro means tomato in Italian, and the technique owes its quirky name to the tomato-shaped kitchen timer that its creator, Francesco Cirillo, used while developing the system in the late 1980s. What seems at first like a mere time management hack is actually built on a profound understanding of how humans interact with time, focus, and productivity. The secret is that by working in defined bursts of deep concentration, you overcome procrastination, maintain momentum, and create a rhythm that feels sustainable over hours and even days. When most people begin a task, they approach it with either a vague sense of time or none at all. You sit down to study, write, or handle work, and hours can slip by in a haze of partial effort, interruptions, and drifting attention. The Pomodoro Technique introduces structure where chaos would otherwise reign. By telling yourself, "I will focus fully for just 25 minutes," you lower the mental barrier to starting. 25 minutes feels achievable. It's short enough that you can imagine enduring the discomfort of focus, but long enough to make real progress. That sense of containment is part of the technique's brilliance. It transforms a daunting task into a small, bite-sized mission. There is also a ritualistic element to Pomodoro. Setting the timer becomes a signal to your brain that work is about to begin. The tick of the clock, whether from a physical timer or an app, provides a subtle background reminder that your focus is valuable and that time is passing. Instead of working endlessly with no structure, you are working against a gently pressing boundary. The end of the 25 minutes does not feel like a failure if the task is incomplete. It feels like the completion of a cycle. That shift in perspective is powerful because it trains you to value progress in increments rather than perfection in one impossible sitting. Consider someone writing a research paper. Without Pomodoro, the looming pressure of finishing an entire draft may feel overwhelming. The natural temptation is to delay, scroll through social media, or engage in distractions. With Pomodoro, however, the person only commits to one session of 25 minutes of writing. They tell themselves, "I don't have to finish. I just have to work for one Pomodoro." That small mental trick is often enough to bypass procrastination and get the work underway. And once the first 25 minutes are over, momentum often carries the person into the next session. It's a psychological doorway into consistent productivity. The structured breaks are just as important as the work sessions. The 5-minute pause is not wasted time, it is an intentional reset that prevents fatigue. In those minutes, you can stretch, breathe, grab water, or simply let your mind wander. Rather than pushing until exhaustion, Pomodoro acknowledges the human need for rest and integrates it into the workflow. After 4 sessions, the longer break offers a deeper recharge, ensuring that you can sustain focus for longer periods across the day. This rhythm mimics natural cycles of attention and energy, making the method not only effective but also sustainable over the long term. What makes the Pomodoro Technique particularly secretive in its strength is that it changes your relationship with time itself. Instead of viewing time as an endless, abstract expanse in which you must somehow force yourself to be productive, Pomodoro frames time as a series of small containers. Each container is manageable, finite, and measurable. When you track how many Pomodoros you complete in a day, you gain tangible evidence of your effort. It is no longer about how many hours you sat at your desk, but about how many focus cycles you invested. That perspective shift can be liberating, especially for people who struggle with guilt about not doing enough. With Pomodoro, enough is defined clearly by the number of sessions. Over time, using this technique also improves self-awareness. You begin to notice how many Pomodoros different types of tasks require. Perhaps writing an email takes 1 Pomodoro, while preparing a presentation takes 6. This knowledge allows you to plan realistically and avoid overloading your schedule. Instead of vague to-do lists, you can estimate your day in units of Pomodoros. That planning precision is another hidden benefit of the system. It teaches you to respect the reality of your time and energy rather than relying on wishful thinking. Another layer of the secret lies in how Pomodoro supports focus in an age of distraction. Modern life bombards us with notifications, pings, and endless temptations to check our phones. The Pomodoro Technique creates a simple but firm rule. During those 25 minutes, nothing else matters but the task at hand. Knowing that you have a break coming soon makes it easier to resist the pull of distractions. You can tell yourself, "I'll check my messages after this Pomodoro." That small deferral builds discipline without feeling restrictive. Over time, this habit rewires your brain to resist constant multitasking and to embrace single tasking as a norm. What is remarkable is that the technique is flexible enough to adapt to different personalities and contexts. For some, the standard 25-minute session works perfectly. For others, the length may shift, 20 minutes for quick bursts, 40 or even 50 minutes for deep work. The principle remains the same. Divide time into clear focus intervals, punctuated by restorative breaks. The adaptability makes Pomodoro accessible to students, professionals, creatives, and anyone seeking to master their attention. The simplicity of Pomodoro is both its strength and its disguise. Because it seems so basic, people may underestimate its impact. Yet the secret is that the technique aligns perfectly with human psychology. It reduces the friction of starting, provides structure for maintaining focus, and honors the necessity of rest. It creates a rhythm that can carry you through demanding projects, long study sessions, or everyday tasks with surprising ease. Once you experience the flow of completing several Pomodoros in a row, you begin to realize that productivity is less about willpower and more about working with the natural patterns of the mind. In summary, understanding the Pomodoro technique is about more than knowing its steps. It is about appreciating the deeper secret, that focused, time-boxed work unleashes more energy, clarity, and consistency than endless, unstructured hours ever could. The tomato-shaped timer is only a symbol. The true power lies in redefining how you relate to time, focus, and progress. By embracing this method, you discover that the key to productivity is not working harder or longer, but working in harmony with your brain's natural rhythms. The secret of how the brain reacts to time limits is at the heart of why the Pomodoro technique works so effectively. Human attention is not infinite. It is naturally wired to ebb and flow in cycles. When we confront a long, undefined stretch of time to complete a task, our brain perceives it as overwhelming. The result is procrastination, avoidance, and distraction. Yet, when we shrink that stretch into a finite short window, like 25 minutes, the brain responds very differently. The challenge suddenly seems manageable, and we are much more willing to engage. This subtle shift is one of the greatest secrets behind the Pomodoro technique, because it takes advantage of how the human mind perceives goals and deadlines. Psychologists have long studied the role of time pressure in human motivation. One relevant principle is Parkinson's law, which states that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. If you give yourself 8 hours to finish a simple report, it will likely take the entire day. But if you give yourself just 1 hour, you will likely complete it within that time, cutting unnecessary steps and distractions. The Pomodoro technique operates on a similar logic but applies it in repeated small doses. Each 25-minute session is like a micro-deadline, triggering a sense of urgency that tells the brain, "I must focus now." By working within these compressed boundaries, tasks that once felt open-ended and intimidating become approachable and structured. There is also a neurological explanation for this effect. Our brains thrive on short-term rewards. When you start a Pomodoro, you commit to focusing for a relatively brief period. Completing that session provides an immediate sense of accomplishment, releasing small bursts of dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with motivation and satisfaction. Instead of delaying gratification indefinitely, you create a steady cycle of effort and reward. Over time, your brain begins to crave these cycles, making it easier to maintain consistent productivity. The Pomodoro technique essentially rewires your brain to associate focused work with frequent positive reinforcement. Time limits also reduce the cognitive load of decision-making. Without boundaries, our attention often drifts, asking questions like, "Should I stop now?" Or, "How long should I work before resting?" These constant micro-decisions sap mental energy. With Pomodoro, the decision is already made. You will work until the timer rings. By outsourcing the responsibility to the timer, your brain can conserve energy for the actual task, rather than negotiating with itself about when to start or stop. This frees you from the endless mental tug-of-war that so often accompanies long projects. Another fascinating aspect of time limits is their ability to combat perfectionism. Many people delay starting tasks because they fear not doing them perfectly. A blank page can feel terrifying when you imagine writing the perfect essay in one sitting. But if you only have to write for 25 minutes, the pressure of perfection lessens. You think, "I'll just write something for this one Pomodoro." By lowering the stakes, the time limit encourages action rather than paralysis. Once you have momentum, perfection can be pursued in later sessions, but the crucial barrier of starting has been overcome. The Pomodoro Technique also plays into the psychology of urgency. Urgency sharpens focus. Think about how much work people often accomplish right before a real deadline. The brain rallies its resources because time is short. Pomodoro harnesses this same principle but in a controlled, non-stressful way. Instead of waiting until the last minute before a project is due, you create dozens of small, self-imposed deadlines throughout your day. Each one nudges the brain into high focus mode. But because the intervals are brief, the urgency does not overwhelm or exhaust you. It is worth noting that our attention span naturally aligns well with the traditional 25-minute Pomodoro. Research in cognitive science suggests that most adults can sustain intense concentration for about 20 to 40 minutes before attention starts to waver. By setting the limit at 25 minutes, Pomodoro maximizes the brain's natural focus window without pushing into the fatigue zone. The 5-minute break then provides just enough recovery time to reset attention for the next cycle. This synchronization with biological rhythms is part of what makes the method feel so natural once practiced regularly. Let's imagine a scenario. A student sits down to prepare for a challenging exam. Without time boundaries, they tell themselves they'll study all evening. Within an hour, they are distracted, scrolling on their phone, and feeling guilty about wasted time. If the same student uses Pomodoro, they commit to just 25 minutes of reading, followed by a short break. That boundary creates a mini-mission. Finish reviewing one section before the timer goes off. The brain, recognizing the time limit, mobilizes focus and energy. After the break, the cycle restarts. In just a few hours, the student has completed multiple high-focus intervals with much less frustration. This is the secret in action. The brain performs better when time feels scarce but manageable. Time-boxing tasks also helps reduce the fear of endless work. For instance, if someone dislikes a certain task, say cleaning up spreadsheets, they might avoid it because it seems endless and dull. But with Pomodoro, they tell themselves, "I only have to do this for one session." The finite boundary reframes the task from an indefinite burden into a small temporary effort. Often, once started, they find themselves completing more than expected. But the trick was lowering the mental barrier with the promise of a short time. Commitment. Another psychological phenomenon that Pomodoro exploits is the Zeigarnik effect. With the Haideus, brain's tendency to remember unfinished tasks more vividly than completed ones. By stopping after 25 minutes, even if the task isn't done, your brain keeps it active in working memory. During the break, ideas often bubble up subconsciously, leading to creative insights or problem-solving without deliberate effort. When you return to the task, you often find yourself more prepared to continue because your brain has been processing it in the background. Thus, the time limit paradoxically strengthens long-term engagement with the task rather than weakening it. Ultimately, the secret of how the brain reacts to time limits reveals why the Pomodoro Technique is not just a gimmick, but a profound psychological tool. It transforms procrastination into progress by lowering entry barriers. It uses short deadlines to generate urgency without stress. It leverages the brain's reward system to reinforce consistency. It aligns with natural focus cycles and even harnesses subconscious processing. Each of these elements alone is powerful, but together they create a method that feels almost magical in its simplicity. What seems like just a kitchen timer and a few minutes of structure is actually a finely tuned system that speaks directly to how the human brain experiences time, attention, and motivation. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Pomodoro Technique lies in the unexpected benefits that appear once you start applying it consistently. At first glance, people adopt Pomodoro simply to manage their time better. But with practice, they discover that the technique enhances focus, boosts energy management, reduces stress, and even reshapes how they think about productivity. These benefits go beyond simply getting things done. They change the way you live and work on a deeper level. The first, and perhaps most obvious benefit, is the improvement of focus. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. Phones buzz with notifications, emails flood our inboxes, and the temptation of endless scrolling is always just one click away. Sustained concentration feels harder to achieve than ever before. The Pomodoro Technique counters this by creating an environment where focus is non-negotiable but manageable. When you commit to a 25-minute session, you deliberately silence your phone, close unnecessary tabs, and direct your full attention to a single task. Over time, these repeated cycles of focus train your brain like a muscle. Just as lifting weights builds strength, practicing Pomodoro strengthens your ability to concentrate. The unexpected result is that you find yourself able to focus more easily, even outside of Pomodoro sessions. Another surprising benefit is the way Pomodoro helps manage personal energy. Productivity is often framed in terms of hours worked, but in reality, energy management is far more important. Working for 3 unfocused hours while fatigued is less effective than working for 1 highly focused hour with energy. The Pomodoro Technique recognizes this by embedding rest into the workflow. Those 5-minute breaks between sessions are not indulgences. They are essential maintenance. They give your brain and body a moment to reset before diving back in. Similarly, the longer break after 4 sessions allows for deeper recovery. This rhythm prevents burnout, making it possible to sustain high levels of productivity across an entire day without feeling completely drained at the end. People are often surprised to discover that, by resting more frequently, they actually accomplish more overall. A third benefit is stress reduction. Many people live with the constant weight of unfinished tasks pressing down on them. To-do lists grow longer and vague commitments linger in the back of the mind. The Pomodoro Technique offers relief by breaking those looming obligations into manageable chunks. Instead of worrying about completing an entire project, you only have to focus on finishing 1 Pomodoro. This shift reduces anxiety because it replaces the abstract pressure of too much to do with the concrete action of work for 25 minutes. As the sessions accumulate, progress becomes visible, and the sense of control grows stronger. People who once felt paralyzed by stress often find themselves calmer and more confident once they integrate Pomodoro into their daily lives. Another benefit that often goes unnoticed at first is the ability to measure and track productivity. Each Pomodoro completed is a unit of focused effort, a tangible marker of progress. Unlike hours, which can be filled with distraction and half-hearted work, Pomodoros are standardized units of deep focus. When you look back at your day and see that you completed 12 Pomodoros, you know exactly how much real work you did. This creates a sense of accountability that is both motivating and rewarding. Over time, you begin to recognize patterns. How many Pomodoros you can realistically complete in a day, how many certain tasks usually require, and where your productivity peaks. This awareness helps you plan more effectively, allocate your energy wisely, and set realistic goals. Balance between work and rest is another unexpected gift of the Pomodoro Technique. Modern culture often glorifies overwork, promoting the idea that the longer you grind, the more successful you will be. But this mindset leads to exhaustion, mistakes, and even health problems. Pomodoro disrupts this harmful pattern by forcing breaks into the workflow. At first, some people resist, thinking that pausing every 25 minutes will slow them down. Yet the opposite happens. Breaks refresh the mind, prevent diminishing returns, and create a sustainable pace. Instead of pushing yourself until you crash, you move steadily through cycles of effort and renewal. Over weeks and months, this balance preserves not only productivity, but also well-being. Interestingly, the technique also fosters creativity. Because each session has a clear boundary, your subconscious mind continues processing ideas during the breaks. Many people report having aha moments during their 5-minute pauses or longer breaks when their brain has a chance to relax. This interplay between focused effort and relaxed reflection mirrors what psychologists call incubation, a process that often leads to creative breakthroughs. Tasks that once felt stuck begin to flow more easily because your brain is given the optimal conditions to solve problems. There are also social and emotional benefits. When used in group settings, Pomodoro creates a sense of shared focus. Imagine a team in an office or a group of students in a library, all committing to 25 minutes of quiet work followed by a short break. This collective rhythm reduces interruptions and encourages collaboration during breaks. It also normalizes the idea that rest is part of work, reducing guilt around taking pauses. On an individual level, Pomodoro helps combat the isolation of long solo projects. The timer becomes a silent partner, offering structure and companionship as you move through tasks. One subtle but profound benefit is the change in self-perception. People who struggle with procrastination often carry guilt and shame, believing they are lazy or undisciplined. When they begin using the Pomodoro Technique, they suddenly find themselves completing multiple focused sessions each day. The evidence of progress challenges their negative self-image. They start to see themselves as capable, consistent, and productive. This psychological shift can be life-changing, as it replaces self-criticism with self-trust. Over time, the confidence built from completing Pomodoros spills into other areas of life, creating a positive feedback loop of growth. Finally, one of the most unexpected benefits is the sense of time mastery. In a world where time often feels like it slips away uncontrollably, Pomodoro gives you a tool to reclaim it. Each session is a declaration that you are in control of your minutes and hours. You are no longer at the mercy of distractions, procrastination, or endless busyness. You are actively shaping your day, one Pomodoro at a time. This sense of mastery brings peace of mind, as you no longer wonder vaguely where your time went. You know exactly how you invested it, and that knowledge is empowering. The Pomodoro Technique may appear to be a simple productivity method, but its hidden strength lies in these unexpected benefits. It sharpens focus, optimizes energy, reduces stress, measures progress, creates balance, sparks creativity, builds community, reshapes self-image, and restores control over time. Each of these outcomes enhances not only work performance, but also quality of life. People often begin using Pomodoro to fight procrastination, but end up discovering a system that transforms their entire relationship with time and productivity. That is the real secret. Pomodoro is not just a timer, it is a path to a more focused, balanced, and fulfilling way of working. Applying the Pomodoro Technique effectively requires more than just setting a timer and hoping for the best. While the method is simple at its core, 25 minutes of focused work followed by a 5-minute break, it becomes truly powerful when you use it deliberately and consistently. Many people who try Pomodoro once and give up often miss the underlying practices that make it successful. To unlock its full potential, you must prepare your tasks properly, create an environment for deep focus, manage distractions, and use the breaks strategically. The way you implement these elements determines whether Pomodoro becomes a fleeting experiment or a lifelong tool for productivity. The first step to using Pomodoro effectively is preparation. Before starting your session, you need clarity about what you want to accomplish. Sitting down with vague intentions like "do some work" is a recipe for frustration. Instead, create a specific task list and break larger goals into smaller, concrete steps. For example, instead of writing "work on project," break it into subtasks such as outline introduction, draft first paragraph, or edit section 1. Each of these smaller pieces fits neatly into one or more Pomodoro sessions. By defining the scope clearly, you set yourself up for success because you know exactly what to tackle when the timer starts. Once you have your task list, the second key is choosing the right tool. While Francesco Cirillo originally used a tomato-shaped kitchen timer, you can now find countless apps, browser extensions, and even physical timers designed specifically for Pomodoro. The tool itself matters less than your commitment to use it consistently. What is essential is that the timer is visible and that you treat it as non-negotiable. The ticking countdown serves as both a motivator and a boundary, reminding you that focus is temporary but sacred. Many people find it helpful to place the timer in their line of sight so they remain aware of the passing minutes without obsessively checking the clock. The next element is creating an environment of focus. A Pomodoro session is a promise to yourself that you will dedicate 25 minutes fully to the task at hand. That means eliminating as many distractions as possible. Put your phone on silent or airplane mode, close unnecessary browser tabs, and let others know you are unavailable for that short interval. The beauty of Pomodoro is that it is easier to defend your focus when you know it's only for a limited time. Saying, "I can't talk right now, I'm doing a 25-minute focus session," feels much more realistic than saying, "Leave me alone for the next 4 hours." Over time, these boundaries create a culture of respect around your working sessions. When the timer starts, the rule is simple. Work on your chosen task and nothing else. Do not switch tasks, do not check notifications, and do not wander into unrelated activities. If a distracting thought or reminder pops into your head, jot it down on a notepad and return immediately to the task. This practice prevents the brain from losing momentum while still acknowledging the distraction for later. It is a way of telling yourself, yes, that thought matters, but it can wait until the break. By doing this repeatedly, you train your brain to remain anchored in the present task instead of scattering its attention across multiple fronts. The break is just as important as the work session. Many beginners misuse breaks by continuing to stare at their screens or scrolling on social media. That kind of activity does not refresh the brain. It only drains it further. A truly effective Pomodoro break is one that recharges you. Stand up, stretch, grab a drink of water, or take a short walk. If you're studying or writing, look away from the screen and let your eyes rest. Some people like to do quick breathing exercises or listen to a short piece of music. The point is to detach from the task so that when the timer rings again, you return with renewed focus. These 5-minute intervals may seem small, but they add up to significant preservation of energy across the day. After 4 Pomodoros, the technique prescribes a longer break, usually 15 to 30 minutes. This is where deeper recovery happens. You can use this time to eat, move your body, or engage in light conversation. It resets not just your attention, but also your mood, allowing you to approach the next block of sessions with the same freshness you had at the beginning of the day. This longer break prevents the sense of grinding fatigue that often builds during marathon work sessions without pauses. Another key to applying Pomodoro effectively is flexibility. While the traditional session length is 25 minutes, it is not a rigid rule. Some people find that 20 minutes works better for tasks that require less concentration, while 40 or even 50 minutes may suit tasks that demand deep immersion, like programming or creative writing. The secret is to experiment until you find the rhythm that fits your natural focus cycle. What matters is not the exact number of minutes, but the principle of time boxing, defining clear periods of focus followed by deliberate rest. Tracking your Pomodoros is another way to enhance the technique. At the end of each session, mark it down on paper or in an app. Over time, you'll see how many Pomodoros different tasks require, which helps you estimate future workloads more accurately. This data also motivates you by showing concrete evidence of progress. On days when you feel unproductive, looking back and seeing 10 completed Pomodoros can remind you that you accomplished more than you realized. Accountability can make Pomodoro even more effective. Some people practice it in groups, either physically together or virtually through online study rooms and focus apps. Working alongside others, even silently, creates a sense of shared discipline. Everyone commits to focusing for the same interval, and breaks become opportunities for brief interaction. This collective rhythm makes it harder to give in to distractions and reinforces the habit of consistency. Perhaps the most important part of applying Pomodoro is treating it as a skill rather than a quick fix. The first few sessions may feel awkward or interrupted, especially if you are not used to sustained focus. But with practice, your brain adapts. You become more comfortable diving into work quickly, ignoring distractions, and respecting the timer. Over weeks and months, Pomodoro evolves from a tool you use into a habit that shapes your entire approach to productivity. Ultimately, applying the Pomodoro technique effectively comes down to intention. It's not about the timer itself, but about how you choose to engage with your work during those intervals. When you prepare tasks clearly, protect your focus, honor your breaks, and track your progress, you transform the method from a simple trick into a powerful system for sustained productivity. With consistent use, Pomodoro becomes more than just a way to manage time. It becomes a framework for managing attention, energy, and motivation in every aspect of your life. The true secret of the Pomodoro technique is not just in mastering its basic steps, but in learning how to upgrade and personalize it to fit your unique working style, goals, and environment. Many people assume that Pomodoro is rigid, exactly 25 minutes of work and 5 minutes of rest. But in reality, the method is highly adaptable. Its structure can evolve into a flexible system that maximizes productivity across different contexts. Once you've built consistency with the foundational practice, the next level is about tailoring, combining, and expanding the technique to make it a long-term ally in your personal and professional life. One of the first ways to upgrade Pomodoro is by customizing session length. The traditional 25-5 structure is effective because it fits the average attention span, but not everyone's mind operates on the same rhythm. Some people find themselves fully immersed in a task just as the timer rings, which can feel disruptive. Others struggle to maintain focus for the full 25 minutes at the start. The secret is that you don't need to treat 25 minutes as sacred. You can adjust. Try experimenting with 20-minute sessions if you're building up your focus stamina, or extend them to 40 or 50 minutes if you're working on deep, creative tasks that benefit from longer immersion. The principle remains the same. Define a period of concentrated effort, then honor it with a break. Another way to enhance the technique is by combining it with other productivity methods. Pomodoro is powerful for focus, but it does not inherently prioritize which tasks to tackle first. Pairing it with frameworks like the Eisenhower Matrix helps ensure that the Pomodoros you invest in are aligned with urgent and important goals. Similarly, integrating it with GTD, getting things done, allows you to clear your mind by capturing tasks and then assigning them to Pomodoro sessions. This hybrid approach ensures that you are not only working efficiently but also working on what truly matters. You can also upgrade Pomodoro by tracking not just the number of sessions but also the quality of each session. At the end of a Pomodoro, take 30 seconds to rate your focus level on a scale of 1 to 5. Over time, patterns emerge. Perhaps your focus is sharper in the morning, or maybe it declines after lunch. These insights allow you to schedule high-priority tasks during your peak focus windows and save lighter work for low-energy times. Instead of relying solely on willpower, you align your schedule with your natural rhythms, which dramatically increases effectiveness. Beyond work, Pomodoro can also be expanded into personal life. The technique is just as effective for studying, learning new skills, exercising, or even doing chores. For instance, if you dread cleaning the house, committing to just one Pomodoro makes the task feel manageable. More often than not, you'll do more than you planned once momentum kicks in. Similarly, language learners can use Pomodoro to practice vocabulary or conversation drills without feeling overwhelmed by endless study sessions. By applying Pomodoro beyond traditional work, you create a mindset where focus and rest become guiding principles for all kinds of activities. Another upgrade is using technology wisely. While traditional timers work fine, modern Pomodoro apps offer advanced features like distraction blockers, automatic tracking, and analytics. Some apps even gamify the process, rewarding you with virtual achievements for completing sessions. The danger, of course, is turning the system into another digital distraction. The secret here is balance. Choose tools that enhance your discipline rather than complicate it. For many, the simplest setup, just a timer and a notebook to log Pomodoros, remains the most effective. Upgrading Pomodoro also involves rethinking how you use breaks. Beginners often misuse breaks by diving into social media or other stimulating activities that derail focus. To upgrade, treat breaks as opportunities for restoration rather than consumption. 5 minutes can be spent stretching, walking, drinking water, or simply looking out the window to rest your eyes. The longer break after 4 Pomodoros can be used for deeper renewal, like preparing a healthy snack, meditating, or chatting with a friend. When breaks are intentional, they not only refresh you, but also reinforce the rhythm of work and rest that Pomodoro is designed to cultivate. For professionals working in teams, upgrading Pomodoro can mean creating a collective rhythm. Shared Pomodoro sessions, sometimes called team sprints, synchronize focus across groups. During the 25 minutes, everyone works silently on their tasks, and during breaks, they reconnect briefly. This fosters both accountability and camaraderie. Remote teams in particular benefit from virtual co-working Pomodoros, where apps or video calls allow members to focus together across distances. In such settings, Pomodoro shifts from a personal productivity tool to a shared cultural practice. Perhaps the most advanced upgrade to Pomodoro is transforming it into a habit that structures your day. This requires consistency. Instead of using Pomodoro sporadically when you feel motivated, Integrate it into your daily routine as a default. Begin the day by mapping out tasks in terms of Pomodoros. For example, you might dedicate 3 sessions to writing, 2 sessions to meetings, and 4 sessions to research. As you move through the day, you simply follow the rhythm of the timer rather than negotiating with yourself about when to start or stop. The more you practice, the more automatic it becomes, until Pomodoro is no longer just a tool but part of your identity as a focused, disciplined person. The final and perhaps most profound upgrade is philosophical, shifting from viewing Pomodoro as a productivity hack to seeing it as a way of living with balance. In a culture that often glorifies busyness, Pomodoro reminds us that productivity is not about working endlessly, but about working wisely. It teaches that rest is not wasted time, but an integral part of effectiveness. It shows that progress is built not in giant leaps, but in steady, repeatable cycles of effort and renewal. By internalizing this philosophy, you carry the spirit of Pomodoro into everything you do, creating a life marked by focus, clarity, and sustainability. In the end, the secret of upgrading Pomodoro is personalization. The method is not meant to be rigid. It is a framework you adapt to your needs. Whether you adjust the length of sessions, integrate it with other systems, expand it into personal life, use it collectively, or turn it into a lifelong habit, the technique evolves with you. Its simplicity is the foundation, but its flexibility is the true source of power. By upgrading Pomodoro, you move from simply managing your time to mastering your focus, your energy, and ultimately your life. Oh, remember, you don't need to work harder, you just need to work smarter. And the secret of the Pomodoro technique is the key to taking control of your time, your energy, and your future. If you're ready to break through, don't just stop here. Start applying it today. And don't forget to hit subscribe because so many more productivity secrets are waiting for you.